Assalamu alaikum all. Today I'm going to be talking about how to study languages better while fasting. Now, I just want to say Ramadan Mubarak to everyone. So we're just in Ramadan at the moment. And what does this mean for language learning and how am I going to kind of approach that? And it doesn't mean that we just stop. And I saw a really good video by someone called Shigs that I'll have a link in the description. And it was really kind of just talking about how we can use Ramadan to our advantage. Welcome. On this channel, I share my journey learning languages as a Muslim. Now, the main purpose of Ramadan is to get closer to Allah. So it's kind of like a time for us to reset. So let me get that absolutely clear. That is the main priority. But that doesn't mean that we just kind of stop everything else. And that includes our language learning or potentially staying fit and things like that. We don't want to kind of fall too far behind. People think that they have less time to study and go to the gym. However, we can fulfill our rights in Ramadan by still studying languages and going to the gym and doing other things like that. It's about being more intentional with our time. And I used to think, during Ramadan, we got a lot less time. And I saw a really cool video from Shigs as well, who talks about this. I'll make sure to have the link in the description. Because we are fasting, we don't need as much time for eating and preparing food. So we do actually kind of gain some time in those areas. And it's about kind of maximizing those bits of time. So it is really about being intentional with your time. So thinking about all the things I'm doing during Ramadan, I'm trying to figure out the best way to fit things like, doing my language learning, working out, and, just like family time, all of that sort of stuff. So when should you study? Well, it kind of depends on the day and, what you get up to and, whether you've got a full-time job, if you're a student, if whatever it may be. So I thought I'd definitely kind of explain how I do that. But one of the most important things I do want to talk about is eating good food. And then you'll feel good for studying. So, having things like fried sugary foods, which I used to have a lot before, it just doesn't feel good and stuff like that. Nowadays in the morning, like when I wake up before for suhoor, which is like the meal we generally have before we start fasting, I'll have a chicken curry with veg and rice. Although some people think that's too heavy, but I think that's like good fulfilling food that will kind of keep me going throughout the day. And then when I go to break my fast during Iftar, I generally have like this chickpeas and like something called kisuru, which is like this ricey kind of congee. I think in China they call it congee and things like that, and it's like really good. Have it with some salad, have some meat usually during that time as well. And also like after my sort of Salah time, after Isha and Teraweeh and stuff like that, I usually have like a protein shake as well before going to sleep because I want to kind of keep my protein going up. And healthy food can be tasty as well. And I don't want people to think, just because it's healthy, it doesn't taste good. No, it does really taste good. And I try and be like good for about 80% of the time, and 20% of the time, especially during Ramadan, if I get invited somewhere, from I do like to have your fried foods and your pakoras, your samosas and all of that sort of stuff. Or I might pop out and get a burger and things like that. So yeah, it is about definitely trying to be healthy most of the time. So one of the things I do during my day is I start by going to sleep after Taraweeh. So I'm going to start during the night. So, if I go Isha and I do Taraweeh, then, I'll come home, I'll have my protein shake and then I kind of go to sleep, and then I usually try and get about 5 to 6 hours before we get out for suhoor, which is the meal before we sort of start our fast. And and we'll kind of then pray then. But one thing I want to say is that sleep is very important for your health. Like trying to get 7 hours in total is kind of like my minimum. So during Ramadan, it kind of needs to be broken into 2 bits. And even during the summer in the UK as well, just because of the shortness of the hours. But sleep is super, super important. And you're not going to be able to function properly if you don't get sleep. And it also increases your risk for some really serious diseases like, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, even like dementia and things like that. So and I was really bad during my sleeps. And now I'm really kind of trying to focus on that. And what I like to do is I sort of wake up a bit before suhoor, and I generally, throughout Ramadan, I would try and kind of read a little bit of Quran, make dua. It's a really important time to kind of read the Quran and make dua. So trying to kind of take advantage of that, just spend a little bit of time with doing that. And then after I had my suhoor and I've done my Fajr prayer as well, I'll go to sleep for a bit more. So I'm trying to get 7 hours in total. So it's in kind of 2 bits. Then I've got to kind of wake up, drop my son off to school and start working on my full-time job and kind of really sort of focus on that. And after Salah time, I would generally kind of, do some Duo Lingo, pull out the Duo Lingo app and just kind of keep that thing kind of going. And Salah time is like a good time. So Salah time is when we pray, and it's a good time for me to just kind of remember to do Duo Lingo. It's like a really good prompt. And then once my job is finished for the day and I've, it's time to wrap up, I'll then spend about 10 to 15 minutes just kind of just doing some revision. And I'm using an app called Anki, and I definitely plan on doing a video. It's been kind of working really well for me. And then when it's Iftar time, which is time to break my fast, I would then kind of, not do any sort of language learning or anything like that. So usually the nights is when we kind of focus on just doing things for Ramadan. So that's like reading the Quran, making sure I go to the mosque to do Isha, and, you know, try and do Taraweeh as well. So yeah, it's really important to do that. And I'm kind of tired as well throughout the day. So I just want to focus on that. I don't really want to kind of be focused on other stuff. And the other thing is with the last 10 nights, I just kind of give it that final push. So I probably, you know, try and do more extra sort of rituals that we have as Muslims. So, you know, I've tried to read more Quran, kind of stay up maybe a bit more, so my sleep might suffer a bit. But however, I still try and, you know, get some good sleep as well, because it's just so hard to function otherwise. And definitely Ramadan is a busy month, and, you know, it's important to take breaks and kind of avoid burnout. You know, usually a lot of people have a lot of energy at the start of Ramadan, and then, like, you know, they kind of like drop off towards the end. So it's kind of important to just kind of keep it steady, keep your stamina kind of going, and, you know, just kind of be very conscious of how you're feeling, and, you know, when you need a break and stuff like that. So yeah, it's really important. And the key thing is just to focus on consistency, trying to do something every day. Doesn't matter how little or a lot. This is like all the perfect sort of plan, and it might not work for everyone, but just try and find what works for you. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please check out this other video where I talk about making language addictive like social media.